Welcome back to another edition of Cover One, the Film Room. I'm your host, Eric Turner, joined today by Nate Gary. Good afternoon, Nate. What's going on, brother?
We're so close, man. We're so close to regular season football. I can't wait.
No, I know. It's especially after that third game, they got extended time, and you didn't see too much game planning, I don't think, but we saw some struggles from Josh Allen. We saw some ups. We saw some downs. Now, the offense did have really bad field position. I think their average field position was their 11-yard line, whereas the Lions in the first half was their 50. So they did have some obstacles to overcome. They did have a game plan to run the ball a lot, as Sean McDermott and many of the players had mentioned in post-game pressers. But overall, what were your thoughts on Josh Allen and the game plan and his play versus the Lions?
Hey, I don't mind the game plan. The one thing I will say this, and I mentioned this in my post-game show on WGR, is that, I think if you're looking at the two, because I think from the first two games to the third game, there was a very significant change in both scheme and tempo. They went from a shotgun, we're throwing the football in the first two games, to we're going to get under center and we're going to hand the ball off on first and second down and hope that we get an advantageous third down situation. And, it didn't really work out that way on the first couple drives. In my opinion, if that was the game plan, they could have put Tyree Jackson out there and likely gotten the same results. But they wanted to see what the offense would look like from an under center, let's run the football type of standpoint, and all the power to them. I think they need to be able to see. And I also think it was strategic. I mean, you're talking about maybe one of the best run fronts in football with the Detroit Lions, with Mike Daniels and Snacks Harrison up the middle. I mean, you're talking about, and before his injury, Jarrad Davis as well. So you're talking about a really, really good run stopping interior of that defensive line and linebacking core. Why not see what you can do and go after them from a run standpoint and see, get something on film, But at the same time, for a third preseason game, for the dress rehearsal, I would have liked to see them maybe run a more realistic mix of what we'll see during the regular season. But I think it was telling that the final 2-minute drive, they go back to that shotgun, spread it out, have Josh Allen throw the football, and they move 95 yards in 8 plays in under 3 minutes. Now, of course, there was a couple penalties in there that helped them. But I also think you also saw the run game function better in that 2-minute drill when they're spread, when they're in shotgun. You saw the shady draw play. You saw his best run of the game, and maybe his best run in something like 8 months, because he looked fast. He was able to break away from defenders, ended up getting the horse collar penalty at the end of the play that put them right in scoring position with Devin Singletary. But overall, I think what you're seeing is, I think, good, because I think this is a team that I want to see them spread the ball, run out of the spread formation, because I think the same way that Todd Gurley had so much success last season. Todd Gurley led the league in running against six-man boxes. And if you can have LaShawn McCoy run against a majority six-man box this year, he's going to have a Pro Bowl season.
Yeah, there's some great points in there. You had mentioned about, obviously, they were able to run the ball when they wanted to. They moved the line of scrimmage when they wanted to. Of course, they handed it off. I believe it was 11 out of 13 times of first down. So they were trying to prove to themselves that they could run the ball when they needed to, when they wanted to. Now, what I found interesting is in that 2-minute situation, prior to that 2 minute, they got the ball with like right under 4 minutes left in the half, and they stuck to the game plan. They ran it 3 straight times. They got to that 2 minute. They're like, you know what? This is a great opportunity for our offense to run a 2-minute drill, something they were terrible at last year. I think the graphic they showed,
it was bad. Yeah.
During the game, they had 3 points in a 2-minute situation all of last year, which is the second fewest points in the NFL. So what better time than now to, go ahead and run that 2-minute drill versus that Lions front. Now, back to the run game real quick. Your great point about running against this Lions D, the Snacks Harrisons, the Mike Daniels, A'Shawn Robinsons, Jared Davis. Like, that's a good front, and it's a hybrid front, something we see a lot of when we play the Patriots. So again, a good test for that front. And I thought when they wanted to run the ball, they were able to and get movement up front. So I like that. But then sprinkling in the pass game to end the half to kind of boost Allen's confidence, as we'll see here later once we get to the film. I think it was a great game plan and something they needed to work on. Each game showed us something different on this offense. And I think what it comes down to is this game plan showed us that, hey, maybe we shouldn't lean on the run game as much as we thought for our second-year quarterback, because it takes him out of the game early. It doesn't allow him to get in rhythm. Maybe they realize that, you know what, maybe we do need to do some things to get him involved early rather than have him lean on the run game and be a passer second. So maybe that is what we take from this game. Hopefully it is, because when Josh Allen feels like he's not involved, when Josh Allen feels like he's got a little pressure on him on third downs and he's got to be that guy, we saw what happened, and we're going to show that here on film. So let's go ahead and jump right into the film, Nate.
Yeah, actually, dude, I love that point because he said it afterwards. He's like, yeah, I know we were running, so I wanted to take a shot. And I think you're totally right. I think his mindset is if he's not involved early in that game plan or in the first 2 drives, that his mind is like, okay, I've got to make a play because I'm not getting the opportunities, dude. I need to show right now the ball should be in my hand. And I think that the Bills want to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah, because it just almost funnels him to hero ball, right?
Yep.
I mean, all right, Nate. So we talked about Josh Allen. We talked about how he starts off games a little slow. And on this 3rd and 5 play, it's a simple, man beater concept with Cole Beasley to the bottom. And we see Allen's mechanics fail him here. And there's a lot that goes into this play, but I want everyone to take a look at the plays that I had clipped together here, because you see that throw go incomplete. It's an inaccurate ball on 3rd and 5. Well, if you look at these 2 plays that we see Josh Allen complete to Cole Beasley the first couple weeks, you'll see he does complete these, and there's similar areas of the field. And I just want you to, take note on where the ball is being completed. Here, it's on the numbers to his left. On this play, LaShawn McCoy, he hits him outside the numbers, so out wide here. But we're going to take a look at how those 2 setups, those 2 passes from Josh Allen compare to this pass to Cole Beasley. So again, Beasley's going to motion, and that's just ID in the coverage, right, Nate? And he's going to run a speed out. It's nothing crazy, but what happens here is the snap's a little high. So first of all, Nate, the snap's high. He has to take his eyes off the ball, and he immediately wants to go with Cole Beasley. There's no denying that here. Now let's focus on the bottom right-hand corner. As I mentioned, I clipped these plays together. I want you to watch the far left clip on the bottom right, all right? And I want you to watch how he sets up and how he transfers that weight. He hits the back foot, and then he transfers that weight, sets his lead foot, and you see the spacing from his right foot to his left foot when he transfers that weight. There's probably about a half yard, right? It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice transfer of the weight and delivery there. Now, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner versus the Panthers, he's hitching and he's transferring that weight, but you'll see, again, he transfers that weight from his right foot to his left foot, and it's really smooth, right? And he completed both of those passes out to his left. Now, Nate, walk us through what happens on the top play versus the Lions here. Well, what happens here on this pass?
Yeah, what you want to focus in on is the belt buckle, right? When on this throw on the top of the screen, you're going to notice as the ball's being released, I actually like the timing of this throw. He understands that this ball needs to be out before the defender is able to make a move on the ball. So that needs to be thrown as his player is making the break, which it is. But look at the belt buckle. Look at his front, or in this case, his left foot, right? His left foot is almost parallel when he throws the foot. It is parallel when he throws the football. That means he's generating just absolutely no velocity from his lower body. It's all arm. And I know that he has arguably the league's best arm, but when you take away that lower body, you're taking away a lot of accuracy. You're taking away the like you mentioned, the sort of transition from weight from the back to the front foot. Yeah. So you're taking away velocity, meaning he needs to ramp up velocity using his arm. When he is forced to use almost all of his arm or exclusively his arm like he does in this play, you could be anybody. I mean, you could be the most accurate passer ever. When your fundamentals, when your mechanics aren't proper, you're going to have a difficult time putting it in a pinpoint, using your pinpoint accuracy, So when you look at the 2 bottom screens on the bottom right hand of the screen here, you can see an easy follow through. You see the transition from weight from his back foot to his front foot, and you can literally see him creating velocity, right? And he's not just using his arm. When you look at the main screen here, he's creating almost no velocity. That's why the ball is behind him. It's why the ball is going towards the ground. So this, I think the good news here, this is what you could take away from a play like this, because this is probably, other than the interception, which we'll get to in a few plays, this was probably the worst play he put on film. And I think for the most part, it's an easy fix, which is a good sign when you're talking about a young quarterback making a bad throw. You can easily identify the issue and correct it real time. And he's already shown, as you can see on the bottom right hand of the screen, that he does have an understanding, a concept of how he has to complete that pass. I think that the snap certainly probably played a little role in this. But listen, not every snap's going to be perfect. Not every situation when he gets the football in his hands in the pocket is going to be a perfect, ideal situation. Sometimes he's going to have to maintain those mechanics in a cloudy pocket or in a cloudy situation. He didn't do a good job of that here, but again, young quarterback, this is a rookie or a young quarterback's mistake, something that he can definitely fix.
Yeah, I mean, he hits that back foot, and that's it. He doesn't transfer that weight at all. He's throwing off his back foot, and so he's not transferring the weight from his right to his front. his lead leg. And as you mentioned, Josh cannot survive in that world. He will not consistently hit, ball placement and where the ball needs to be when he is throwing without his mechanics. It's just not something he can rely on. Now, a guy like Sam Darnold, he's shown that he could throw off platform in that way, but it's night and day difference when you look at the two bottom clips.
But I do want to say something about the Sam Darnold point, though, is when Sam Darnold, yes, he has shown the ability to sort of allow his feet to become a mess and still throw the ball accurately. But I think what you'll notice, and I certainly noticed this, is when he starts to throw off platform, it's when he plays his most inconsistent football. And that is what you saw a lot of Sam Darnold in college. When he was turning the football over, it was because he was trying to make throws with his arm and not his body.
As is often the case, right, with quarterbacks. Yep. I mean, that's why they preach these mechanics. Exactly. But it's one of those things, especially with Josh Allen, when he has to throw with zip, when he wants to use that arm strength, he's got to have his platform because he loses accuracy. He doesn't have the control at the end of his fingers to put it where the ball needs to be on a play like this when his feet aren't set. And you'll see it even more so from this tight camera angle here, is watch once, again, the high snap had something to do with it. I don't know what type of footwork he's supposed to be working on, whether it be a 0, 1, 3-step drop from here, but it does mess with his footwork. And again, he's throwing flat-footed. Look, there's no transfer here. It's all upper body, as Nate said. And that's why the ball goes incomplete there. It's just not even close. And Cole Beasley had him. He had the corner. This could be a first down if Josh Allen hits this.
No question, it should be a first down. And here's the good thing is, like, 3 out of the 4, or 80% of what he needs to do to make this play successful, he did. Right? He realized that the ball needed to come out quickly. He unfortunately had the bad snap, so it kind of took everything off of him. But he understood where the ball needed to go, why it needed to go there. He just didn't execute, and it was a lower body issue. So to me, everything that you want to see your quarterback on this play, the understanding, the read, and making the throw on time is good. He just needs to get it there more accurately, and it's a very easy fix. Again, that's good news. What we want to do, Eric, is in these game films, when we're breaking down Josh Allen's play, is diagnose an issue and then find a solution, right? And when you can easily find the solution, I think those are good signs that they're mistakes that eventually, hopefully by mid or end of season, are completely taken away out of his game.
Totally. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the next play. All right, Nate. So we just broke down one of Allen's, not finer moments in this, early game. And on this play, the Bills send out 11 personnel. They put the 3-by-1 set into the field, and they're going to have Beasley running just a dig route past the sticks. And of course, this is the play that Allen completes it to Beasley. Beasley goes on to fumble it, and the Lions take over. Again, this is a backed up situation for the offense, and they're in 2nd and 9. So they want to, get those chains going, get this drive going. And on the snap, you're going to see a really good pickup, first of all, by LaShawn McCoy. He sees that late blitzer from the second level and picks him up along with Spencer Long. So props to those two guys, first of all. But the poise shown by Josh Allen with that pressure in his face, something he struggled with last year. Everyone remembers the Green Bay game. They were sending and faking blitzes from that linebacker level to Josh Allen. He was just escaping the pocket, not really standing in there. He doesn't flinch here, stands tall in the pocket. Good transfer of his weight here, and a dart over the middle to Cole Beasley. So what are your thoughts on this play, Nate?
Well, first of all, I love the route concept. It's kind of like it's a play on levels almost. And the thing that I really like about it, and I think that we're going to continue seeing as a trend, because it's been a trend in preseason, this 3-by-1 set where you've got the tight end in line with his hand in the dirt. And I love it. I love it. And especially when you get Cole Beasley in the slot and look at, again, manufacturing a matchup. That player, he's supposed to, I think 42's job here is at least to pass this off to the primary defender. He doesn't do a good job of making any contact with Cole Beasley. And teams eventually, that player on this look has to get Beasley off his stem, and he does not do a good job of really moving him at all. Even though it's not his player, he's playing in his zone, he's got to make some contact with Cole Beasley to move him off his stem. He doesn't, advantage Bills. And like you mentioned from a Josh Allen standpoint, I love that he stays in, he watches this blitz kind of happen right in front of him. As you mentioned, that Green Bay game is a perfect example of this. I think LaShawn McCoy and Spencer Long both had a really nice game. Yeah, Spencer Long, especially on the inside, I thought really showed some nice things up from the guard position. But on the throw itself, it is an absolute beaut. It's what you'd call a traditional window throw against his zone. Cole Beasley's basically taking 2 steps away from the break, turning his head around, and the ball is right there in his numbers, right at his chin. So from snap to finish, other than the fumble, of course, this is a perfectly executed play on 2nd and long. And again, I think this is becoming a theme of the preseason, is 2nd and long seems to be a down and distance that they're thriving on. And that's got to be really good news if you're Brian Daboll.
Yeah, I mean, all the analytics guys would love it, right? After, if you're running on first down, you're not getting anything more than a yard, which is what happened here. Well, 2nd and long, maybe teams of the past would go to a run just to set up 3rd and manageable. No, Daboll's flipping the script. He's like, no, we're pushing the ball down the field. We're not running just some short crossing route like you had mentioned, that dropper, the number 42. He's taken away that short crosser. He thinks that the Bills are probably going to be doing that short route. No, they go for the sticks here. And the throw, I mean, look at the throw by Allen. I mean, he's got guys in his face, but he still sticks to his mechanics and transfers that weight and just lets it rip. I mean, and it's on point. I mean, I just like to see Cole grab it with his hands so that when he is contacted, it's a little more in control of his grasp. But I mean, from start to finish, Josh Allen, I mean, he's skilled this play.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I mean, he fits that ball. Now, I'm going to tell you what. I mean, for the most part, if you're pretty much any other quarterback, that ball needs to be placed and meet the receiver at the outside of the sticks. Very few quarterbacks can basically make a 2.5, 3 yard throw from 20 yards behind the, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a 20-yard throw, and the receiver gets about 2.5 yards from release to catch point. That just gives you an idea of the velocity that's created on this throw, where I think a lot of guys, if you throw the football there, Cole Beasley's stopping or jumping to catch that and getting hit as he catches the football. He's got so much velocity that 2 yards from 20 yards behind is pretty remarkable to me. It is a really good test of his velocity there.
Yeah, I mean, this is where arm strength comes into play, right? On those 3rd reads across the middle, those in-breaking routes, those dig routes like this. I mean, this is on a rope. I mean, it's a really good throw and a testament to Allen's arm strength and his poise on this play. All right, Nate, so on to probably Josh Allen's worst decision in this game. So we're up and down right now. As you guys can see, as you can feel, as you felt in the game, Josh Allen had one of those days. But on this play, with a condensed set, the way this play sets up, Nate, my guess, we don't have the all 22, but my guess is this is a similar play that Robert Foster scored on last year, where you're going to have these guys crossing down the field, play action pass, give your quarterback some time to shoot it deep here. But you see Long is attempting to anchor versus this pass rusher, and the pass rusher is doing a good job. He's got the outside lane here. So it forces Josh Allen to step up in the pocket. Good job of transferring the ball to his left hand and breaking that, and then, of course, breaking the tackle box. But once he gets outside the tackle box, what do you want your quarterback to do here, Nate?
I want him to throw the football away. And what I want him to know, too, is it's not 3rd down. It's 2nd and 4. You throw this ball away, you've got a 3rd and 4 situation. You live to see another day. You live to see another down. And that's what I need him to see on this play. But, again, I think what happens is we're at the 34-second mark of the first quarter, and I think he's got 2 passing attempts, 3 maybe. So he spent an entire quarter handing the ball off to his running backs. And I think in his mind, this is the first time they're calling, it's a called shot downfield, right?
Yep.
I think in his mind, he thinks this ball needs to get downfield. And I think because of that, now you don't get to see the all 22. If you bring it back to the snap, Lee Smith is open almost right away. Now, 92, where he ends up or where he starts this play, I think if I'm Josh Allen or if I'm Brian Daboll, I think right off the bat, like before this guy breaks the face of Spencer Long, I think I just want the ball to be thrown right now to the short offensive player.
Find your outlet. Yeah, find your outlet. If you're in trouble, find your outlet.
Let Lee Smith fall forward for if it's a gain of 1, if it's a gain of 3.
Or even if he drops it.
Or if he drops it, right. All of those scenarios are all positives instead of what we saw here. Now, you don't like to see your guard get beat across the face. That's obviously a mistake by Spencer Long.
Yeah.
It ends up costing the Bills a potential turnover. But obviously, in what I thought was a pretty weak, roughing the passer call, the Bills aren't going to get bailed out by that a lot. And especially with Josh Allen, we know this, is running quarterbacks don't tend to get the same benefit of the doubt that a Tom Brady or traditional pocket quarterbacks get. When you break the pocket, a lot of times you have to really be blatantly hit or hit late to get that play call. I thought that this was fine. I thought this was totally within the rules, but they got bailed out, and so be it. But I think at the same time, what he sees here is a free Robert Foster, and he needs to know that if you're throwing across your body back to fire, that you're going to find fire. You know, when you can't throw across your body to the middle of the field where 10 guys are sitting, where 9 guys are sitting. You know what I mean? So for this, I think it's a play that I don't see just leaving the back of his mind. I think we're going to see this play at least 2 more times during the regular season.
Yeah, it's in his arsenal. I mean, it's going to happen. Yeah.
It's in his DNA. But I think he's going to complete 1 or 2 of these.
He did last year. Think about it. In the Vikings game, the Jets game, both of those to Ivory, LaShawn McCoy against the Texans. This happens. He has completed this, but you can't do this, especially early on in the game. You just can't throw the ball like this across your body.
Pick his spots. I agree. I don't want him to take this out of his arsenal, but what I want him to do is understand that on 2nd and 4, you can't throw 40 yards across your body. What you can do is you can throw 5 yards, 10 yards across your body to a leaking running back, as you mentioned, or a wide receiver who's coming back on a scramble drill. What you can't do is throw this back into a full defensive defender's 30 yards. Like, it's just
the difference between those plays that worked last year and a play like this is that the receiver's working to the middle of the field here. Yes. Those other passes, the running back was leaking out from a play action fake, and they were going to the sideline. So it's a little different, but again,
it's really different. It's really different. It's really hard to hit a guy in stride coming away from you. Now, if you have to throw across your body to a guy coming towards you, it's a very, very different throw.
Yeah, totally. And, thank God that they were calling this game tight. I mean, they had, 12 penalties for 106. This was a ticky-tack foul. But, again, they got bailed out, and, Josh Allen lived to throw another play. All right, Nate, so now we're late in the second quarter, 6:27 left on the clock, 3rd and 6 situation. And at this point, with your starters still in, I think Daboll and the staff wanted to do what they could to, yes, get the first down, but kind of save Josh Allen from any type of unnecessary hits. So what they're going to do is call a half roll to the bottom of the screen, to the field side of the play. And Dawson Knox does a good job of sealing the edge there, but the intended target is John Brown working from top to bottom here on a deep crossing route. You're going to see Zay Jones get disrupted at the line of scrimmage right here, and he's running a corner. You're having Beasley running speed out, but there's no one open here. There's really good coverage. You'll see a safety over here off the screen kind of driving on Beasley, thinking that Allen's going to target him. So Allen does go to John Brown along the second level here, but you'll see from the other camera angle, it's probably not a smart throw. I think he aimed small and he missed small, but the DB gets his hand on it here. So what are your thoughts on this play from top to bottom?
Yeah, I think you could just chalk this one up to a win for the defense. I thought it was really well covered. And you mentioned this too. It doesn't really look like John Brown is separating the way you'd like him to. And maybe it's a timing issue. Maybe on this route, he needs to see Zay Jones cross his face. That could totally, I don't know what the scheme is, I don't know what he's being coached to do, but I would doubt that he's being coached to run it like 60% on this route. And I think it allows the defender the opportunity to sort of scale and then catch up right as the ball's being thrown. I mean, at the same time, I don't know how it's being coached. I have the feeling that he's likely not going to be running that route before Zay crosses his face. Yeah. So maybe, again, we could chalk this up to preseason timing. And I think we could also chalk it up to, it's just good defense. Sometimes defense is just going to win on a play. You mentioned the aim small, miss small. I agree. I think that thank God he didn't leave this up. He didn't throw it at pad level. This needed to be low. It was the only place to really give his wide receiver an opportunity to make the catch and get a first down. But again, on 3rd and 6, Josh Allen's trying to make a play.
Yeah. The ball, I mean, it's hard to track, but you can see the ball is low and, the guy just punches it out. So I do think that the ball was probably accurate. I think the decision is wishy-washy, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. And again, we don't know what John Brown's being coached on this play, so it's a little difficult to speculate whose quote-unquote fault this play is. But I keep wanting to kind of go back to, first of all, Dawson Knox really blocked well that entire game. That was a really good sign to see Dawson Knox block at the level, because I think that, to be honest with you, was one of his knocks, is you just didn't know what you were getting from a blocker as a blocker from Dawson Knox. So what we were able to see on a number of plays, and I saw a couple of your breakdowns of it. I was really impressed with him, and he does a nice job of sealing the edge for Josh Allen so he can get outside the numbers. But at the same time, there really is nothing here for Josh Allen other than to either throw this away or maybe run out of bounds with a 1-yard gain.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't take a hit here. That's the biggest thing for me. Third down, yes, you're getting rid of the ball and then punting it away. But you know what? He didn't take a hit on a normal drop back. They tried shrinking his reads and shrinking that, half of the field so that Josh Allen's hits were minimized. Nate, we're on into the 2-minute drill now. We're at minute 53, and the Bills send out our favorite, an empty set. And what they do is run a little pivot return route to the top of the screen by Duke Williams in the slot, and then a dig route by John Brown. Now, the defense is showing man coverage across the board, single high safety look. So the throw to John Brown is smart. You're running that dig route versus a closed middle of the field. It's a good play. It's a good throw by Josh Allen. I thought that maybe from the top of the drop, he hitches up just a little bit. He may have, just a little too wide of a base here, but I can't complain because honestly, the ball looks accurate. He's throwing it through traffic with this rat defender standing right in his face, and he's able to drill, again, a receiver on an in-breaking route 15 to 20 yards down the field on point, and John Brown goes to the ground and, smartly gets back up and gets some yards after the catch. So what are your thoughts on Josh Allen's throw here from the pocket?
I would have loved to see it from the all-22 angle, up top on this one. But what I love, because I really wanted to see how much that linebacker, that rat defender, really played a part in this. Because if you watch it, that was pretty close. I mean, it was well defended, but Josh Allen has such velocity on the football. It's going to be hard to defend in those zones, or if you're going to have a rat or a spy defender.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to put your hands in front of a ball when it's going that fast across your face. But from a throw standpoint, you're right. I mean, his face was a little bit wide, but I'm not going to complain if he's going to throw the ball accurately. And again, I think it's well timed. What he wants to see here is to make sure that they're in man, that slot defender over the top of Duke Williams in this instance actually takes Duke Williams. And when he commits to Duke Williams coming across on the option route, I think the decision right there is made that I'm throwing this ball to John Brown because that defender is going to clear out and give me an alleyway to throw to John Brown. So, and that happens. He makes the throw on time accurately. I would have liked to see John Brown maybe stay on his feet without going to the ground for this. I think maybe it was right at stomach level. It wasn't a perfectly at the chin throw, but I think it was at a point where he could have stayed on his feet and made some big, listen, John Brown catches this in stride. It's a foot race. So, at the end of the day, I would have liked to see him stay up. But I also think that this is a positive play on first down on a 2-minute drill. It's really important that you complete this pass.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, man-to-man coverage to the top of the screen. As you said, as Duke pivots back outside, obviously that defender is going to be rolling outside with Duke. He's got the rat defender in the middle of the field on the hashes, right at the hashes, right where Josh Allen pretty much is. So you see the throw is pretty much right at the hashes, and the catch is right at the hashes. So again, that rat defender probably played a role on where this ball is going to go, and throwing it from the 20-yard line to the 38, 39-yard line, that's 18 to 20-yard throw on a dig route on a rope. I'm sure the placement wasn't the only thing John Brown was fighting. I think the velocity is probably why he was more worried about making the catch here from the throw from Josh Allen rather than the yards after the catch. So I think he was fighting a couple different things. And who knows, from John Brown's perspective, that rat defender nearly getting a piece of that ball or being in his line of sight may have thrown off his vision and awareness altogether. So either way, secure the pass and then of course get up and do what you can after. So I think it was a good play by Josh Allen. I think his eyes, his timing, his rhythm were good there. You saw I highlighted earlier, he takes a quick glance at Cole Beasley and realizes, they're in man coverage. That guy is going to stay over the top of him, and we're going to go for the sticks. And with a single high safety look, it's not a bad decision. It's a good throw, and the Bills go ahead and move the chains. All right, Nate, so on to the final play of this breakdown. Nothing too special, but let's keep in mind we're in the 2-minute drill. The clock is running, and the Bills send out a 3-by-1 set to the field to the bottom of the screen. And it's hard to tell exactly what routes they're running, but let's go ahead and say they're running vertical routes of some sort. Because you're going to see when I let the film roll, you're going to see Knox kind of bend over the middle. It's one of those plays, it's hard to tell without the all-22, but what we need to keep in mind is that they are protecting deep. They got two safeties here in some fashion, at least 10 to 15 yards down the field. Now, of course, when the ball is snapped, we lose that line of sight, but it's a simple shallow cross, shallow drag route by John Brown across the middle. And it's something last year that Josh Allen, he struggled with it. He was really scattershot when it came to running these shallow crosses. Too often, he didn't set his feet properly. He would throw it too hot. But overall, he threw a lot of uncatchable balls to guys that were wide open. And on this play, he's going to hit John Brown across the middle because he sees that all of these defenders over here to the field are all off and soft, and they're dropping, right? So that's going to leave that underneath zone wide open for John Brown. And of course, they want to complete this ball, and he wants to throw it to John Brown and give him some time and some space to run and get out of bounds. And that's exactly what he does here. So what are your thoughts on this play from Josh Allen, this throw from Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, these are plays this is why you go get a John Brown. This is why you have a guy with the breakaway speed, the vertical speed that you have in John Brown. And when you run a vertical set the opposite direction to the field, what that does is completely open things up for you. And if you, in an ideal world, this ball is thrown, leading him so that he can catch it and not have to do anything other than run upfield. And Josh Allen does a good job of doing that. And again, like, this isn't something that, we want to just pat Josh Allen on the back for completing an elementary level throw. But I think what we need to do is show the fact that, at times last year, this is the kind of throw that gets viral, right? That you have Josh Allen throwing 4 feet above above the wide receiver's head or at his feet. The receiver's got to dive to make the catch. The more of these that Josh Allen can afford his receivers, the more success this offense is going to have. This is little. It's a 7-yard throw, but it's so important to take a little off it and throw with accuracy. John Brown sticks his hands out, and the ball is at his hands. That's what you want to see, and this is something that I think could be a big development in his game this year. If he's able to complete, 15 of these, 15 more completions in a season is going to bump his completion percentage up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and this little simple pitch and catch obviously put the offense in a good position to, on the next play, Shady, takes a draw, and then there's a penalty on that, and they're in business in the red zone. They're in business inside the 10. Devin Singletary go ahead and takes it in for the touchdown. So all these little plays, these 2 little passes that he ended his game with against the Lions were, very beneficial for, showing us that he has improved, and that, if he does hit these, what type of benefits are reaped from these type of easy pitch and catches. And to add that to the arsenal, as you said, will only help this offense and Josh Allen. All right, Nate, so Josh Allen had an up and down game, but it was a good ending to his first half play. So what are your overall thoughts on his play against the Lions this preseason, and where do we go from here?
I think it's a really good preseason for Josh Allen, and I think maybe more importantly, it was a really good preseason for Brian Daboll from an evaluation standpoint. I think he got an opportunity to evaluate the running back position. I think he had an opportunity to evaluate Josh Allen in multiple different tempos and speeds and schemes in this game, which I think is super important. I like the total numbers at the end of the preseason: 18 to 27, 217 yards. I think that could be a stat line you could see a number of times this season. There are certainly a number of aspects that I want to continue to see him grow in. One of them being, I think most importantly, the mistakes and trying as much as possible to eliminate some of those cross the body into the middle of the field throws that we can get rid of. The better and more successful Josh Allen's going to be. The dropped passes, I think, is a really interesting stat to look at here. 2 drop passes this preseason. I bet you if you were to go back to last preseason and just do the drops between Nathan Peterman and Josh Allen, I think that number would have been higher. So I think that you're seeing a better surrounding staff in terms of what Josh Allen has around him and Cole Beasley. I really like the development of Duke Williams. I'm really interested in seeing that the battle between Duke Williams and Isaiah McKenzie, 2 guys that bring really, I think, unique perspectives to the field, and what that means for Zay Jones, what that means for Robert Foster. It's crazy. There is, roughly 6 days before cuts happen. And I feel like I'm no closer to determining who's going to be on this roster than I was at the beginning of training camp.
I agree. I think overall, from a decision-making standpoint, I think overall Josh Allen played rather well. Of course, we saw the hiccups here, and that's what I do worry about with Josh Allen. I don't want to bring, the fans down and start to worry fans, but as you can see here, he was not under pressure a lot. He was not blitzed a lot. When he was under pressure in that play where he threw that interception across his body, you saw what happens when things start to speed up. He was not pressured, guys. So we got to keep that in mind when the regular season starts. If he's pressured, how is his decision making affected? I think that is something we need to pay attention to. But overall, when we look at his time in pocket stats, and it's something I posted on Twitter today, 13 for 17 when he had 2.5 seconds or less from snap to throw, that to me, or snap to attempt, that to me tells me that's a big improvement from 2.97 seconds last year. And typically what that is showing is that he understands where he needs to go with the ball and he's getting rid of it. That's not a stat that measures how good the offensive line's blocking. No, it's a stat from Pro Football Focus that measures how long the quarterback is holding on to the ball and how it affects his play. And so far, if he's throwing 13 for 17 in under 2.5 seconds, to me, that's a really good completion percentage, first of all. But it's him knowing where to go with the ball and distributing it to guys like John Brown, Cole Beasley, and guys underneath when he needs to. And of course, we haven't seen him deep often. He's only thrown the ball 3 times deep, and of course one for 3 there for 23 yards. But that's something they didn't even show. Maybe they had some shot calls played and the defense had it covered, so he was forced to throw it into the short intermediate area and whatnot. But that's another thing they haven't shown. So there's some good and bad that is on film from Josh Allen's play. But overall, especially when you compare it to last preseason, I think it's been night and day. And especially when you're talking about the staff and the weapons he has now, I think we saw a little bit of each, as you said, of this offense. A little bit of the run, a little bit of the passing, short, intermediate area. And I think that it's setting up well for week 1 for Josh Allen and the Bills. All right, so Nate, with that said, we're going to wrap it up. Where can everyone find you on Twitter?
Find me at Nate Geary WGR. We've got this film breakdown coming out, obviously, but the regular season comes by and our weekly breakdowns start to heat up. And obviously, we have a lot more plays at our disposal. So make sure you're headed up to cover1.net to check out all of our work and our film breakdowns there. I'm excited for the regular season so that we've got some real stuff to hear to break down.
All right, Nate, thanks for joining me. On to next week.